What's going on, good people? Hope you're having an amazing morning, afternoon, night, whenever you happen to be watching this. I hope that you are doing phenomenally well. And I wanted to really quickly talk about decision making and how to make better decisions, because I was reflecting a little bit on the last video that I posted about the things that I've learned from spending 2 weeks on the road with the #1 motivational speaker in the world, and how that was a super transformative, impactful experience for me, and just the different things that I learned. I talked about that in the last video. And I started thinking about it more, and I was like, man, how did I even get in that situation in the first place? Like, it's kind of crazy for me to even think about, but I realized that a lot of it came down to the decisions that I made. Most specifically, the decisions that I made during college and even a little bit in my high school years. And I think that a lot of people that are my age, and I'm including myself in that group because like I said, I'm just 24 years old, so I'm not far removed from college age people. I think that one thing that I've seen again and again and again with my friends, with my teammates, with kids that I've coached, mentored, all sorts of people, is they tend to think that those years are like isolated in a bubble. That those years, the decisions that they make, don't necessarily have a big effect on their 30, 40, 50-year-old lives. And I think that's a mistake, and I think that it's worth talking about. So just to start off with, why is decision making important? I tend to think that decisions determine destiny, which sounds like a contradictory statement, because I think a lot of people think of destiny as this concept that we can't change, like it's just predetermined. And I think that there's a lot of deep thinking that you could do there on the place of religious thought and how much free choice we actually have as human beings and things like that. But without even pushing it there, I think that it's relatively self-evident that the decisions that we make in life at least have some form of impact on where we end up, right? It's not like you start here, you finish here, and there's nothing you can do in the middle about it at all. At least that's what I choose to not believe, because I think that that's a very nihilistic and relatively hopeless way of looking at the world. So I choose to believe that the decisions that we make can actually have an effect, or in other words, determine our destiny, at least in part. And so for me, I've noticed this happening over and over again throughout my life. So for example, it can be something as small as when we were on the road over these past 2 weeks, I was in the hotel gym, and I made a quick video about this on Instagram, and I was in the hotel gym for about an hour and 15 minutes. Not a single soul came through that door. Like, nobody was working out except for me. But I guarantee you, if I had gone out there in downtown Houston, Texas, where we were, and started going to some of the bars, going to some of the clubs, they would have been packed, right? They would have been absolutely packed. And so the point that I made in that quick video was, look, the difference here is the decisions that people make. That's it. Like, different decisions lead to different results, which shouldn't be a mind-blowing concept, but I think to a lot of people it is. It's like, look, some people choose to spend their free time, whatever the free time that they have available, drinking, partying, hanging out at the bar. I'm not saying there's anything inherently wrong with that. You should have fun with your life, enjoy the social side of life. Like, you should do some of those things in moderation if you choose to. However, a lot of the same people who are at the bar are the same ones talking about, well, I want to be more successful. I want to be in better shape. I want to look a different way. I want to have more discipline. I want to be able to make more money. I want to be able to do this. And it's like, well, you're doing things that directly contradict what you say that you want. And so it's hard for me to empathize with that. You know what I mean? So even in something as small as that, you can see how the minority results are gotten by the minority decisions, meaning everybody wants to look a certain way. Everybody wants big arms. Everybody wants a six-pack. Everybody wants a skinny waist. How many people are willing to sacrifice time at 8 p.m. at the bar to go to the gym instead? Not many, which is why not many people have that result of having big arms, skinny waist, and six-pack abs. So it's not, in my eyes, a complicated situation. It's just a matter of deciding what you want. But anyway, we'll get into that more. Another example that I would offer, and that's like a small example, right? That is a very micro here's one thing you can do to get this result, here's another thing you can do to get this result relatively quickly, right? Another situation that I think really illustrates this concept is my college years and the decisions that I made as far as, again, going out, partying, hanging out with my teammates, my friends, etc. And again, I'm not saying that those things are bad, but there was actually a situation where some of my teammates literally told me, you, meaning me, you are not our teammate, because I wasn't willing to go out and do a lot of the other things that those guys were doing. I was not willing to put off my work, the things that I was working on, the things that I was reading, the things that I was whatever, because of, they all wanted to go out as a team and go drink and party and have a good time or whatever. And I just made the decision that I wanted to prioritize something else. I'm not saying that I never did it, but I'm saying that I didn't do it to the frequency that a lot of other people would have liked or thought was socially acceptable, because I was focused on other things. And now that I look back at it, I can see that the reason that I'm ahead of a lot of other people who are 24 years old, the reason that I could get that job with the #1 speaker in the world, was because, and again, I'm not bragging here, I'm just saying that I made different decisions and it led to a different outcome. Because I put so much time into studying, I put so much time into reading books about business and personal development. I put so much time into actively working on changing my mindset. I put so much time into it that other people who are my age can't catch up. Like, they can't catch up anymore, because if you think 3 or 4, that's an underestimate. If you say 5 or 6 hours a week were spent from other people, going out, and I spent that 5 or 6 hours a week. Let's do the math right now, actually. 5 or 6 hours a week working on myself and trying to develop myself. Even if we underestimate this whole thing and just say 5 hours a week, 5 times 52 is 260. 260 times, I spent 5 years in college, times 5 is 1,300. If we divide that by 40, I had 32 and a half work weeks of working on myself and developing my skill sets and my mindset, while other people were out actively deteriorating their skill set and mindset. 32 work weeks, 32 and a half work weeks throughout my college years, I was getting ahead. At a certain point, you can't catch up unless I majorly slip up and fall off and somebody else puts in a ridiculous amount of work. For the most part, I'm so far ahead already, it's like, what are you going to do about it, right? And again, I'm not saying that in a pretentious, arrogant, look at me, look at what I've done. Like, again, like I said in the last video, all credit goes to other people that are not me for any success that I may or may not achieve in the future. But all I'm saying is that the decisions that you make, they have a cumulative impact, a compounding impact on your life that might be difficult to see at 16 years old, at 18 years old, at 20 years old. But when you get to 24, 25, 26 and you look back, unfortunately, a lot of people look back and say, man, I wish I had, or I wish I would have taken this more seriously, or I wish I would have done this. That's not a position that you want to be in, because I promise you, regret is the biggest pain of all, like, that exists in life. Regret is probably one of the strongest ones. So that's why I think decisions are so important. But how do we actually make better decisions? So these are just 3 things that I've kind of learned or figured out over the years and over my experience. Number 1 is, if you don't know what you stand for, you'll fall for anything. Right? If you don't know what you stand for, you'll fall for anything. What does that mean? It means that unless you have a defined value structure or a defined system by which you make decisions, it's going to be very, very difficult to resist temptation in the moment. So if you don't know that you are, let's just say that you are a Christian and you try and practice those ideals and you strive for that type of lifestyle, right? And again, this is not I'm not trying to put this in a religious context, I'm just using that as an example. But let's just say that that's who you are, right? Because of that, you have a very clear structure. 10 commandments. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Don't do these things, right? It's very, very simple. And so when you're faced with decisions of, oh, should I do this or should I do that? Well, you have a framework now you can apply to that decision and say, well, this decision adheres to my value structure. This decision does not. Therefore, I should go with this one. But what happens is, especially kids who are going into high school, kids who are going into college, things like that, who are experiencing that level of freedom for the first time ever, they haven't done the quiet work. They haven't done that introspection to say, who am I? What do I want for my life? What am I about? And then let me act in a way that can actually be in alignment with that. Most people don't do that type of work before going into those sorts of situations. And so what happens is when somebody says, hey, let's go out tonight. Hey, let's try this substance. Hey, let's do this. You get caught up in the temptation of the moment rather than automatically reverting to, nope, I've already got a value system in place that says I don't do X, Y, and Z, and I do A, B, C, right? And I'm not saying that your value system has to be the same as my value system. If you want, I'm not judging you objectively for the decisions that you make. If you want to go out, live it up, live that kind of lifestyle, that's your right. Do it. But understand the consequences that come with decisions like that. And just go into those decisions or go into those circumstances and situations where you might have to make those decisions already understanding what you are and are not willing to compromise on, what you stand for. Because it's going to make that situation a lot easier. Even if you do go out and do some of those things, you're not going to feel guilty about it because you've at least made the decision ahead of time that you are willing to accept responsibility for those decisions and the consequences that come with them. So I really, really, truly believe that sitting down literally just for an hour and asking yourself, okay, what kind of person do I want to be? What kind of life do I want to live? What kind of value system or belief structure do I want to adhere to? Just for the sake of having a point of reference when it comes to making some of these difficult decisions. I think that's super, super helpful. All right. Number 2, make a one root decision and act like you mean it. Make one root decision and act like you mean it. What do I mean by that? I think so many people, they say that they want things, they make decisions, but they don't act like it. They don't act like it. Case in point. And I'm not trying to throw any shade on my old teammates or anything like that. It's just an easy example for me to use because I was there, I lived it. We would talk about, we want to win a championship. We would talk about, these guys are my brothers for life. I'm willing to fight for you, with you, alongside you on the competition floor. We would talk about, we were willing to sacrifice everything, do whatever it takes to be winners, to be champions. Those same people would go get blackout drunk Friday, Saturday, sometimes Thursday, sometimes Wednesday. And it's like, okay, well, you're not really serious about what you said you wanted then, are you? Right? The same people would come into the gym talking about, oh, I'm reading David Goggins' book. The Navy SEAL guy, toughest man alive, stay hard. It's like, dude, you cheat on your conditioning every day. What are you talking about? And so it's a matter of people saying certain things and not living up or not making the decisions that are in alignment with what they say that they want. So when I say make a root decision, I mean pick a goal. It doesn't even matter what the goal is. Just pick a responsibility. Pick a accomplishment, an achievement that you want to shoot for, and then actually stand by that. And then act in accordance to what you say that you want. Again, I'm not saying that even stupid things like cheating on your conditioning is necessarily intrinsically inherently bad. I don't think you're going to mess your life up from doing that. But it does show that you're not serious when you say you want to win a championship. Because people who want to win championships are willing to sacrifice their physical comfort to go put in the conditioning necessary to be at that level athletically so that when it's time to perform, they're able to do so. It's a very, very cut and dry equation, right? Either you're willing to do what you said you were, or you are not. Or you're willing to act in such a way that will bring about what you said you wanted, or you're not. It's a very, very, very simple equation. But most people don't think about it that way. Most people think about it in terms of, oh, well, I know I set this goal, and I know I say that I want this, but in reality, my feelings, my comfort comes first. No, it doesn't. Who told you that? Who told you that because you set a goal and you want uncommon results, that you can take common actions and put your comfort and your feelings first? Nobody cares how you feel. You think your goal cares how you feel? You think that championship ring cares how you feel? You think that $1 million that you're trying to go put in your bank account cares how you feel? Cares about the work that you have to put in? Cares about how uncomfortable you're going to have to get? It doesn't. You have to be willing to decide that, hey, this is what I want, And now I'm going to actually act like it by making decisions that are in alignment with what I said I wanted, rather than just BSing myself and everybody around me and saying that I want this thing, but not actually acting it out. You have to make that decision. And I think that if you can make one root decision and just pick a goal, it makes every other decision make more sense. Of course I'm not going to get drunk every night of the week if I want to be a top tier athlete. Of course I'm going to have to sacrifice a little bit of time socializing with my friends if I want to make $1 million a year and be a successful entrepreneur. Of course I'm going to have to say no to certain things in order to get the things that I want. It's not a complex equation, but you do have to figure out what is that anchor variable in that equation. What is that goal that you want? And then that will literally shine a light on how to act. And I refuse to believe that everybody is so freaking ignorant that you just don't understand that. Like, I'm not saying that from a place of narcissism or a place of, oh, I know better. What I'm saying is, people who say that they want to lose weight and go eat at McDonald's or go get Wendy's every other day of the week. Like, you're not stupid. You're not. I refuse to believe that. You know that that's not good for you. You do it anyway because it's easy, it's convenient, and it tastes good. And you don't have the discipline or are not willing to act like you mean what you say when you say that you want to lose 20 pounds. The pain of wanting to lose 20 pounds, of being dissatisfied with who you are, with your level of discipline, with your level of physical fitness, is not enough to overcome the happiness or the satisfaction that comes with eating your Big Mac. And that's something that you have to come to terms with, because until you get that through your head and accept, I am not doing what I need to do to get to where I want to go, you're not going to get there. Because then you're not going to change the actions that you're taking to get different results, because you aren't bought into that yet. So make one root core decision and act like you mean it. Everything else is going to stem from that. All right. Number 3 is think long term. Right? Number 3 principle to making better decisions is think long term. And I think this is probably the most difficult one, because our brains are wired for temporal precedence, meaning we appreciate immediate gratification more gratification later, right? So if I offer to give you $100 today or $110 2 weeks from now, 99% of people are going to take $100 today, even though the payoff is greater in 2 weeks. You want it now. It's my money and I want it now, right? So we almost have to consciously override that. And that, it's going to get really deep and philosophical really quickly, but that's what separates us from animals, is we have the ability to say, okay, my brain is wired for immediate gratification. I know, I am aware that my body and the systems that make up who I am as a physical being are wired to prefer immediate gratification. I would rather do what is easy than what is hard. I would rather do what will give me a reward now than what will give me a reward later. That is simply how we are wired. The difference between us and animals is animals don't really have a choice. They are driven by these very robotic-like systems and parameters for their decision making, right? They follow a very evolutionarily, that's not a word, evolutionary sound, that's the word I'm looking for. They follow a process that has been handed down to them by evolution that says, here's what you need to do. You have to go chase sugar and food so that you can live. You have to go drink water. You have to procreate. You have to do these other things. And the body tells you that those things are good and gives you a reward internally, physically, so that you are motivated to go do those things. And they do those things. Humans have the higher order consciousness to be able to look at that process and say, yes, this is what, if left to my own just natural animalistic devices, I would do. But I am a human being, and I have consciousness, and I have self-awareness and the ability to look at this and say, you know what? This is actually better for me down the line. I know that all of that fried chicken and cake looks good, but it's going to be good now. It's going to feel good now. But a month from now, I'm not going to be in the shape that I want to be in. Long-term thinking comes down to exercising that God-given gift of consciousness, right? And we have the ability to do that. Other creatures don't. But the problem with most of us is we live our lives asleep. We live our lives controlled by the influences of things that we don't even understand or aren't consciously aware of. I remember I went to a Circle K gas station one time with a teammate, and he went in there and bought a beer, some candy, and some coffee. And I was like, this dude is being, like, no shade to him, but I was like, this dude is being pulled by strings he doesn't even know exists. He needs coffee for energy because he probably doesn't take care of his sleep schedule and diet and everything else that's going to give you natural energy. He needs alcohol for to find peace and stress relief because he can't do it naturally. He can't do it with his own accord. And then he needs candy because he's craving sugar. It's like, man, he doesn't even know. He doesn't even know. He's blind right now. And again, it's like not. I don't say that to sound high and mighty like I'm better, because like, of course I enjoy certain foods too. I enjoy going out every once in a while too. Like, I'm not saying those things are bad. I'm saying it's bad if you allow them to control you, especially if you don't even know it, because that's literally ripping away from you the things that you want and you don't even know it. So you have to become aware of that long-term thinking. So again, it's not about the decisions that's going to make you fulfilled now. It's about what sort of decisions how can I use my consciousness to remove myself from that pull and the glamour and the lights of instant gratification, and really start to analyze these decisions in a 5, 10, 20, 30, 40 year time frame. Like, what's best for me 40 years from now? What decision can I make today that's going to be best for my kids and grandkids that don't even exist yet? What are those decisions? Those are the decisions that I'm looking for. Because at the end of the day, like I said in the last video, people say life is short. In some ways it is. In some ways it's very, very long. And we have to treat it as such. And I think if we start making decisions that instead of our current selves thank us for, but that our future selves thank us for, I think that will at least put us on the path of making smarter, more informed, more well thought out decisions. So again, decision making, I think, is one of the most important qualities, or one of the most important skills that you can learn, especially if you're in that college age type of age group, because I promise you, the decisions that you make today, they do have an effect on who you become 10 years from now. Not even like the big major decisions that you really think about. What major should I do? What job should I take? I'm talking about the little decisions, the little tiny decisions of, should I work out today? What should I eat today? Should I put any time today into studying? I know I said I'm going to read 10 pages a day. Should I actually do it? Or should I just focus on this other thing that's more occupying my attention at this time? Those little decisions that compound over time, that's why some people, when they're 50, are where they're at, and other people, when they're 50, are where they're at. Different decisions lead to different results. Decisions determine destiny. Make good decisions. Hope you enjoyed this video. See you on the next one.